Phaedrus, my friend, where have you been and where are you going? I was with Lysias, son of Cephalus, Socrates, and I'm going for a walk outside the city walls because I was with him for a long time, sitting. You see, I'm keeping in mind the advice of our mutual friend Acumenus, who says that it's more refreshing to walk along the country roads than the city streets. He's quite right too, my friend. So Lysias, I take it, is in the city? Yes, yes, at the house of Epicratus, which used to belong to Mauricus near the temple of the Olympian Zeus. And what were you doing there? Oh, I know. Lysias must have been entertaining you with a feast of eloquence. You'll hear all about it if you're free to come along and listen. What? Don't you think I would consider it the most important and most pressing engagement, as Pindar says, to hear how you and Lysias spent your time? Lead the way, then. If only you will tell me. In fact, Socrates, you are just the right person to hear the speech that occupied us, since, in a roundabout way, it was about love. It's aimed at seducing a beautiful boy, but the speaker is not in love with him. This is actually what is so clever and elegant about it. Lysias argues that it's better to give your favors to someone who does not love you than to someone who does. What a wonderful man. I wish he would write that you should give your favors to a poorer man rather than to a rich man, and to an older rather than a younger one. That is, to someone like me and most other people. Then his speeches would be really sophisticated, and they'd contribute to the common good besides. In any case, I am so eager to hear that I would follow you even if you were walking all the way to Megara, as Herodotus recommends, to touch the wall and come back again. What on earth do you mean, Socrates? Do you think that a mere dilettante like me could recite from memory a speech that took Lysias, the best of our writers, took such time and trouble to compose? Far from it. Though actually, I would be rather able to do that more than come into a large fortune. Oh, Phaedrus. If I don't know my Phaedrus, I must be forgetting who I myself am, and neither is the case. I know very well that he did not hear Lysias' speech only once. He asked him to repeat it over and over again, and Lysias was eager to oblige, but not even that was enough for him. No, in the end, he took the book himself and pored over the parts of it that he liked best. He sat reading all morning long, and when he got tired, he went for a walk, having learned, I am quite sure, the whole speech by heart, unless it was extraordinarily long. So, he started out for the country, where he could practice reciting it, and running into a man who is sick with passion for hearing speeches. Seeing him, just seeing him, he was filled with delight. He had found his partner for his frenzied dance and urged him to lead the way. But when that lover of speeches asked him to recite it, he played coy and pretended that he did not want to. In the end, of course, he was going to recite it, even if he had to force an unwilling audience to listen. So please, Phaedrus, beg him to do it right now. He'll do it soon enough anyway. Well, I'd better try to recite it as best as I can. You'll obviously not leave me in peace until I do so, one way or the other. You are absolutely right. That's what I'll do then. But Socrates, it really is true that I did not memorize the speech word for word. Instead, I'll give you a careful summary of its general sense, listing all the ways he says that a non-lover differs from the lover, in the proper order. Only if you will first show me what you are holding in your left hand under your cloak, my friend. I strongly suspect that you have the speech itself. And if I'm right, you can be sure, even though I love you dearly, I'll never, as long as Lysias himself is present, allow you to practice your speech making on me. Come on then, show me. Enough, enough. You've dashed my hopes of using you as my training partner, Socrates. All right, where do you want to sit while we read? Let's leave the path here and just walk along the Lysias. Then we can sit quietly, wherever we find the right spot. How lucky then that I am barefoot! You are always barefoot. The easiest thing to do is to just walk right in the stream. This way, we'll also get our feet wet, which is very pleasant, especially at this hour and season. Lead the way then and find us a place to sit. Do you see that very tall plane tree? Of course. It's shady with a light breeze. We can sit, or if you prefer, lie down on the grass there. Lead on then. Tell me, Socrates, isn't it from somewhere near this place that near this stretch of the Ilias that people say Boreas carried Orithuia away? So they say. Couldn't this be the very spot? The stream is lovely, pure, and clear, just right for girls to be playing nearby. No, it's 200 or 300 yards farther downstream, where one crosses to get to the district of Agra. I think there's even an altar to Boreas there. I hadn't noticed it, but tell me, Socrates, in the name of Zeus, do you really believe that legend is true? Actually, it wouldn't be out of place for me to reject it, as our intellectuals do. I could then tell a clever story. I could claim that a gust of the north wind blew her over the rocks where she was playing with Pharmacia, and when she was killed that way, people said she had been carried off by Boreas. Or was it perhaps from the Areopagus? The story is also told that she was carried away from there instead. Now, Phaedrus, such explanations are amusing enough, but they're a job for a man I cannot envy at all. He'd have to be far too ingenious and work too hard, mainly because after that, he will have to go on to give a rational account of the form of the hippocentaurs, and then of the chimera, and a whole flood of gorgons and pegasus and other monsters in large numbers and absurd forms will overwhelm him. Anyone who does not believe in them, who wants to explain them away and make them plausible by means of some sort of rough ingenuity, will need a great deal of time. But I have no time for such things. And the reason, my friend, is this. I am still unable, as the Delphic inscription orders, to know myself. And it really seems ridiculous to look into other things before I have understood that. This is why I don't concern myself with them. I accept what is generally believed, and as I was just saying, I won't look into them, but into myself. Am I a beast more complicated and savage than Typhon? Or am I a tamer, simpler animal with a share in a divine and gentle nature? But look, my friend, while we were talking, haven't we reached the tree that you were taking us to? That's the one. By Hera, it really is a beautiful resting place. The plane tree is tall and very broad. The chaste tree, high as it is wonderfully shady. And since it is in full bloom, the whole place is filled with its fragrance. From under the plane tree, the loveliest spring runs with very cool water. Our feet can testify to that. The place appears to be dedicated to Achilles and some of the nymphs, if we can judge from the statues and the votive offerings. Feel the freshness of the air, how pretty and pleasant it is, how it echoes with the summery sweet song of the cicadas' chorus. The most exquisite thing of all, of course, is this grassy slope. It rises so gently, you can rest your head on it perfectly when you lie down on it. You've really been the most marvelous guide, my dear Phaedrus. And you, my remarkable friend, appear to be totally out of place. Really, just as you say, you seem to need a guide, not to be one of the locals. Not only do you never travel abroad, as far as I can tell, you've never even set foot beyond the city walls. Oh, forgive me, my friend, I'm devoted to learning. Landscapes and trees, they have nothing to teach me. Only the people in the city can do that. But you, I think, have found a potion to charm me into leaving. For just as people lead hungry animals away by shaking branches of fruit before them, you can lead me all over Attica or anywhere else you like, simply by waving in front of me the leaves of a book containing a speech. But now, having gotten as far as this place and this time around, I intend to lie down. So choose whatever position you think will be most comfortable for you and read on. Listen then. You understand my situation. I've told you how good it would be for us, in my opinion, if this worked out. In any case, I don't think I should lose the chance to get what I am asking for, merely because I don't happen to be in love with you. A man in love will wish he had done you no favors at all once his desire dies down, but the time will never come for a man who's not in love to change his mind. That is because the favors he does for you are not forced, but voluntary. And he does the best that he possibly can for you, just as he would for his own business. Besides, a lover keeps his eye on the balance sheet, where his interests have suffered from love and where he's done well, and when he adds up all the trouble he has taken, he thinks he's long since given the boy he loved his fair return. A non-lover, on the other hand, can't complain about love's making him neglect his own business and can't keep a tab on the trouble he's been through or blame you for the trouble, for the quarrels he's had with his relatives. Take away all those headaches, and there's nothing left for him to do but just put his heart into whatever he thinks will give pleasure. Besides, suppose a lover does deserve to be honored because, as they say, he is the best friend his loved one will ever have. And he stands ready to please the boy with all those words and deeds that are so annoying to everyone else. It's easy to see, if he's telling the truth, that the next time he falls in love, he will care more for his new love than for the old one. It's clear he'll treat the old one shabbily whenever it will please the new one. And anyway, what sense does it make to throw away something like that on a person who has fallen into such a miserable condition that those who have suffered it don't even try to defend themselves against it? A lover will admit that he's more sick than sound in the head. He's well aware that he's not thinking straight, but he'll say he can't get himself under control. So when does he start thinking straight? Why would he stand beside decisions that he made when he was sick? Another point. If you were to choose the best from the best of those who are in love with you, you'd have a pretty small group to pick from. But you'll have a large group if you don't care whether he loves you or not, and just pick the one who suits you best. And in that larger pool, you'll have a much better hope of finding someone who deserves your friendship. Now, suppose you're afraid of conventional standards and the stigma that will come to you if people find out about this. Well, it stands to reason that a lover, thinking that everyone will admire him for his success as much as he admires himself, will fly into words and proudly declare to all and sundry that his labors were not in vain. Someone who does not love you, on the other hand, can control himself and will choose to do what is best, rather than seek the glory that comes from popular reputation. Besides, it is inevitable that a lover will be found out. Many people will see that he devotes his life to following the young boy as he loves. The result is that whenever people see you talking with him, they'll think that you are spending time together just before or just after giving way to desire. But they won't even begin to find fault with people for spending time together if they are not lovers. They know one has to talk to someone, either out of friendship or to obtain some pleasure. All right, another point. Have you been alarmed by the thought that it is hard for friendships to last? Or that when people break up, it's ordinarily just as awful for the one side as it is for the other. But when you've given up what is most important to you already, then your loss is greater than his? If so, it would make more sense for you to be afraid of lovers. For a lover is easily annoyed, and whatever happens, he'll think it was designed to hurt him. That is why a lover prevents the boy that he loves from spending time with other people. He's afraid that wealthy men will outshine him with their money, while men of education will turn out to have advantage of greater intelligence. And he watches like a hawk everyone who may have any other advantage over him. Once he's persuaded you to turn away from those people, he'll have you completely isolated from friends, and if you show more sense than he does in looking after your own interests, he'll come to quarrel with you. But if a man does not love you, if it is only because of his excellence that he got what he asked for, then he won't be jealous of the people who spend time with you. Quite the contrary. He will hate anyone who doesn't want to be with you. He will think they look down on him, while those who spend time with you do him good. So you should expect friendship rather than enmity to result from this affair. Another point. Lovers generally start to desire your body before they know your character or have any experience with your other traits, with the result that even they can't tell whether they'll still want to be friends with you after their desire has passed. Non-lovers, on the other hand, are friends with you even before they achieve their goal, and if you've no reason to expect the benefits received will ever detract from their friendship with you. No, those things will stand as reminders of more to come. Another point, you can expect to become a better person if you're won over by me rather than a lover. A lover will praise what you say and what you do far beyond what is best, partly because he's afraid of being disliked, and partly because desire has impaired his judgment. Here is how love draws conclusions. When a lover suffers a reverse that would cause no pain to anyone else, love makes him think he's accursed. When he has a stroke of luck that's not worth a moment's pleasure, love compels him to sing its praises. The result is you should feel sorry for lovers, not admire them. If my argument wins you over, I will first of all give you my time with no thought of immediate pleasure. I will plan instead for the benefits that are to come. Since I am master of myself and have not been overwhelmed by love, small problems will not make me very hostile, and big ones will make me only gradually and only a little angry. I will forgive you for unintentional errors and do my best to keep you from going wrong intentionally. All this, you see, is the proof of a friendship that will last a lifetime. Have you been thinking there could be no strong friendship in the absence of erotic love? Then you ought to remember that we would not care so much about our children if that were so, or about our fathers and mothers, and we wouldn't have any trustworthy friends, since those relationships do not come from such a desire, but from doing quite different things. Besides, if it were true that we ought to give the biggest favor to those who need it most, then we should be helping out the very poorest people, not the best ones. Because people we've saved from the worst troubles will give us the most thanks. For instance, the right people to invite to a dinner party would be beggars and people who need to sate their hunger. Because they're the ones who'll be fond of us and follow us and knock on our doors and take the most pleasure with the deepest gratitude and pray for our success. No. It's proper, I suppose, to grant your favors to those who are best able to return them, not to those in direst need. That is, not to those who merely desire the thing, but to those who really deserve it. Not to people who will take pleasure in the bloom of your youth, but to those who will share their goods with you when you are older. Not to people who achieve their goal and then boast about it in public, but to those who will keep a modest silence about it with everyone. Not to people whose devotion is short-lived, but to those who will be steady friends their whole lives. Not to the people who look for an excuse to quarrel as soon as their desire has passed, but to those that will prove their worth when the bloom of your youth has faded. Now, remember what I said and keep this in mind. Friends often criticize a lover for bad behavior, but no one close to a non-lover ever thinks that desire has led him into bad judgment for his interests. And now, I suppose you'll ask me whether I'm urging you to give favors to everyone who is not in love with you. No. As I see it, a lover would not ask you to give it to all of your lovers either. You would not, in that case, earn as much gratitude from each recipient, and you would not be able to keep one affair secret from the others in the same way. But this sort of thing is not supposed to cause any harm, and really should work to the benefit of both sides. Well, I think this speech is long enough, and if you are still longing for more, if you think I've passed over anything, just ask. How does this speech strike you, Socrates? Don't you think it's simply superb, especially in its choice of words?